Okay, now let's talk about undefined. Much like null, undefined also has its own unique place. It represents a value that is not assigned to a variable. Let us see an example to understand it better. Here we have a variable called age that has been declared but not yet assigned any value. In this case, the value of age is undefined. Now technically, we can explicitly assign undefined to a variable like this. But, and this is important, we generally don't recommend doing that. Instead, we usually use null to assign an empty or unknown value to a variable. The undefined value is reserved as a default initial value for things that haven't been assigned yet. So whenever you see undefined, think of it as a signal that the variable is there but hasn't been given any specific value yet. As we continue learning JavaScript, you will encounter undefined in various situations and it will become a familiar friend. But remember, it is best to use null for assigning an empty value, while undefined is used as a default for unassigned things. Okay, now let's talk about objects and symbol. So we have learned about different data types like number, string, boolean, null, and undefined. All of them are called primitive types because they can only store a single value at a time, like a number or a string. But hold on to our hats because objects are a bit different and super spatial. Objects allows us to store collective of data and more complex entities. Think of them as container that can hold various pieces of information together. Now, because objects are so important and powerful, we will give them a dedicated video called objects in our advanced tutorial. But don't worry, we will get there after we have learned more about the other primitive type. Oh, and I can't forget to mention that symbols type. Symbols are used to create unique identifier for objects, special keys that can be used to access specific properties in an object. But don't worry too much about symbols right now, and we will delve into all the details once we have covered objects in more depth. So to sum it up, objects are like cool data containers that can hold more complex information, and they are super important in JavaScript. We will give them special attention in our upcoming videos in our advanced tutorial dedicated entirely to them. But before that, let's continue exploring the other data type. And when the time is right, we will unlock the secret of object and symbols together. So stay curious and let's keep learning JavaScript. Okay, now let's talk about the type of operator. The type of operator helps us find out the type of a value. It is like a detective that tells us whether a value is a number, a string, a boolean, and so on. It is super useful when we want to handle different types of data differently or need to do quick check in our code. Let's see some example. Now let me explain the last three lines a bit more. The result of type of math is object. Don't worry, we'll learn more about maths and object in video about numbers. Surprisingly, the result of type of null is object, but this is actually a mistake in JavaScript from its early days, and it is kept that way for compatibility reasons. Don't worry, we know that null is not an object, it's a special value when it is with its own type. When we use type of on an alert function, it gives a function. Functions are actually a type of object, but type of treats them differently when says function. This behavior might not be technically correct, but it is practical for us. By the way, you might see type of use with parentheses like type of parentheses and inside there's a value. But don't worry, it's just the same without parentheses. The parentheses here are just for grouping, and some people use them for stylistic reason. So now you are all set. As we continue our JavaScript journey, we will focus on the primitive data type first. Once we are comfortable with them, we will dive into the exciting world of the object and learn how to work with more complex data structure in our advanced tutorial. So let's start with the basic and get ready for some amazing adventure in JavaScript. My name is Naushad. Thank you for watching. See you in our next video.